Today I'll be presenting my Master of Sustainability Solutions Culminating Experience project on increasing socio-economic resilience of Utuado farmers through agritourism. My name is Huda, and here's a list of my project partners without which this project would have not been possible. Utuado, Puerto Rico is a region that has witnessed many natural hazards, most notably of which is Hurricane Maria that hit the island in 2017 and irrevocably altered its landscape to this day. But what causes certain groups of people and not others to experience natural hazards as disasters? This is the level of vulnerability that a group of people has to major impacts. In Utuado, this looks like a lack of livelihood opportunity, a large proportion of citizens living below the poverty line, a lack of access to basic necessities and high-quality food, increasing farm abandonment and outmigration, and a high level of dependence on imported food, not to mention inadequate government support and histories of political injustices. However, this disaster has also opened up a window for citizens to rise up and self-organize for the building back better of their shared communities and spaces. In the agricultural sector, this is manifested as a drive towards a stronger regional economy and the building of food sovereignty through agritourism. In Utuado, agritourism is an emerging economic activity that combines agroecological methods and tourism for diversified livelihood potential, sustainable practices, cultural preservation and appreciation, and smaller-scale food sovereignty. Displayed here are an array of exemplary agritourism farms and enterprises around Puerto Rico and in the U.S., which I will mention again later. Based on the transformative potential of agritourism for the Utuado community in terms of positive public health outcomes, social and environmental resilience, and disaster risk reduction, local Utuado farmers could benefit from increased agritourism knowledge dissemination and practice for the building of a stronger regional economy. In order to support this movement, my project involves three major parts. In Part 1, I identified regional sustainability solutions, which involved developing surveys for preliminary data collection on key actions, tools, and resources for farm success, creating a list of criteria for the identification of sustainable farms and enterprises, and conducting background research on those identified regional sustainable farms and enterprises. In Part 2, I reconstructed transition pathways to success of regional sustainable farms and enterprises, which involved developing interview guides for a more detailed follow-up of a few exemplary farms, reconstructing transition pathways based on the information collected so far, and creating a list of criteria for the successful transition or development of a farm or enterprise. In Part 3, I developed an educational program to support other farmers in learning from this experience, which involves identifying the pertinent theory of change, focal risk factors, as well as program scope and stakeholders, and developing a program addressing main elements and indicators, pilot program and measures, and training and implementation based on reconstructed pathways to success. In Part 1, I first delineated a method to identify regional sustainability solutions. The criteria for farm sustainability that you can see here is adapted from the framework for analyzing, assessing, and improving enterprises towards sustainability, as developed by Dr. Week and Dr. Basile in 2020, the principles for a sustainable local food economy, as developed by Dr. Week in 2020, and the Week and Forest 2021 solutions template. The final set of criteria for agritourism integrity was developed from the University of Vermont and Virginia Cooperative Extension definitions of agritourism. In this project, a total of 10 identified exemplary enterprises have been assessed by this list of criteria. Research points to the fact that self-organization is a powerful tool for building community resilience, and in Utuado communities, this has converged around the building of food sovereignty for its transformational potential in addressing food insecurity and the need for increased access to healthy and high-quality food. I highlight a few of these exemplary sustainable farms and enterprises in the region of Utuado, like the one we see here, Finca Amasar, and in other regions nationally as well, and I present them using the criteria for farm sustainability in order to better understand their sustainability features, their contributions to the regional economy, and by extension their areas of potential improvement. You'll notice that information gaps or areas of potential improvement are indicated in italics. In creating an inventory of exemplary farm and enterprise features locally, and in viewing the strengths of different enterprises in conjunction, we're able to begin the first step for the transfer of sustainability solutions to other up-and-coming farms and enterprises in the region. The exemplary farms that I've studied in depth, profiled using the criteria for farm sustainability, and analyzed through pathway transition reconstruction are Amasar, Instituto de Permacultura de Puerto Rico, and Plenitud PR. The first two exemplary enterprises were selected by virtue of being participants of the SARE project, and the third was selected by virtue of being the most exemplary of the exemplary cases profiled earlier. Here you can see the reconstructed transition pathway of Finca Amasar. The rectangular bubbles indicate specific actions, while the diamonds indicate output. The small bubbles that you see indicate actor types, while the small triangles indicate barriers. As we can see in this case, networking played a major role in the success of Finca Amasar. The Forest and Week 2014 framework for pathway transition reconstruction is a highly valuable tool to be able to create a basis for the transferring of these evidence-based critical success factors to other enterprises. Part 3 of my project involved the development of a place-specific agritourism educational program. When it comes to the most successful models of farmer learning, research shows that farmers tend to value social learning or peer-to-peer learning the most as compared with individual or institutional learning, and social learning also allows for greater participation by women and by other marginalized groups of the population as well. In fact, this type of learning also presents an opportunity for a good balance between placing due value on local, traditional, or experiential knowledge while allowing for collaboration with researchers in participatory research programs, as in the example of the University of California Agroecological Program. It's on this basis that I developed the farmer learning community as detailed here, with 2 of the 12 weeks that you can see on this slide. The main concept of this participatory program is to provide opportunities for aspiring farmers to visit a different agritourism farm or enterprise site each week where they can observe and experience firsthand the best practices of the farm while building their network as they go along. The intended outcomes for this project included increased socioeconomic development and livelihood opportunity, increased resilience through farm and visitor readiness for less developed farms, increased engagement in education on and resource sharing with regards to agroecological farming practices, and increased social integration between regional farmers in contribution to greater resilience and a strong regional economy. Based on my different project deliverables thus far, I've received the following feedback. In part 1 of the project, I worked in close collaboration with our project partner from PRTC, Nilda Luring Gonzalez, to identify, contact, and collect information from exemplary farms and enterprises throughout Puerto Rico. Ms. Gonzalez reviewed the criteria for farm sustainability and in doing so, revealed that the list of criteria could be a powerful tool to gain a more holistic understanding of important information on enterprises that has not been previously considered. This kind of information can help create connections and add support for sustainable enterprises as by professionals like Ms. Gonzalez in their networking roles. In part 2 of the project involving the reconstruction of transition pathways, Dr. Katia Brandiers provided valuable feedback on the utility of this tool for increasing the understanding of regional economy players, their interconnections, and functions among the communities and farmers. In part 3 of the project involving the training program, Dr. Lisa Chase, professor at the University of Vermont and director of the Vermont Tourism Research Center, commended the training program for its farmer-to-farmer learning approach, its place-based nature, and its sustainability framing. While it's too early in the project to determine its specific outcomes, these interactions with project partners and subject matter experts point to the promising nature of this project once piloted. What made this project most fulfilling for me was the opportunity to put into practice much of what I've learned over the semesters in my MSUS program, such as sustainability problem identification from the Advanced Sustainability Problem Solving course with Dr. Week, Transitions Pathway Reconstruction from the Disasters as Opportunities course with Dr. Brandiers, Regional Economy Framing and Training Best Practices from the Sustainable Food Economy course with Dr. Week, and the TSC criteria from the Transformational Sustainability Enterprise course with Dr. Week and Dr. Basile. 2 of the original main components of my project were current state surveys for regional farmers and in-depth interview guides for more detailed pathway reconstruction. However, due to COVID-related delays with our project partner IRB institution, it took a period of around 2 months to receive an initial response for amendments, which have recently been submitted. Opportunities for improvement in this regard include making IRB submissions the first project item, with later amendments allowing for project details to be filled in as the project progresses. A combination of my own short-term continued work on this project for the completion of surveying and interviewing, as well as future EMSA student continuation, can yield the following next steps. Firstly, the operationalization and delivery of developed surveys and interviews upon receiving IRB approval. Second, the expanding of the pool of exemplary enterprises for which to reconstruct transition pathways. And third, the piloting of the developed training program with Dr. Biblioni upon completion to better inform the later program implementation phase. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to my presentation today.